Yama number 5. The fifth and final Yama is Aparigraha, non-attachment. So A means non, Pari means on all sides, and Graha is to take or to seize. So non-attachment, and sometimes Aparigraha is non-gripping or non-taking or non-greed. Because when you look at that definition of the Sanskrit word Aparigraha, you could walk away with a few things, but the general practice is non-attachment. We've all heard that attachment is the root of all suffering. And when we think about non-attachment, it's not just attachment to physical things that we want to move away from or attachment to people. It could be attachment, emotional attachment. It could be attachment to outcomes. A lot of times we get this idea in our head that this is what I want and nothing else is going to do. And we're practicing this attachment for this outcome that we think we want. And when it doesn't work out, we're suffering because we can't accept that that's not the outcome for us. It's not working out. It's not meant to be. A lot of times you see people that get so attached to the idea of an outcome that they become like a little obsessed. It becomes unhealthy. And they're miserable because they're so distracted by this desire for this outcome that they can't see or think of anything else. This is what they want. And so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about suffering because of attachment. So in these situations, it's not whatever the thing is that we want to happen. It's not the outcome that we desire that's the problem. And whatever the problem is that we're trying to solve is not even the problem. The problem is the attachment to the outcome, if that makes sense. And so on the mat, what does that look like? Well, sometimes it might be, I have this attachment to this outcome that I'm supposed to be in this pose and it is supposed to look this way. I am supposed to get in bird of paradise and I'm supposed to balance perfectly and my leg is supposed to go into full extension and I should be able to roll my shoulders back and stand tall and hold this pose for 10 breaths with no problem. And on that day, it's not working out, but I'm so attached to this outcome that I miss the beauty of the rest of the practice, trying to force this thing to happen that just wasn't meant to happen in my body on this day. When it doesn't happen that way, because I'm so attached to this outcome, now I'm sad, I'm full of sorrow, I'm depressed, I feel bad about myself because I was so attached to this outcome. I didn't get the outcome I wanted that I was attached to, and that attachment that I have to this outcome has led me down this path of despair. Kind of about practicing acceptance. If I can just accept what I find on the mat in the world without this sense of attachment, I can save myself a lot of trouble. And so beyond attachment to outcomes, I think Aparigraha also has to do with part of practicing our yoga and our yamas, and Aparigraha has to do with attachment to worldly possessions, because the worldly possessions we have are really not our possessions at all. We're not going to have these things forever. In fact, one day they're going to cease to exist altogether. So when we allow greed to kind of overtake who we are, then we take our eyes off of our true self. So when we're focusing on what we have or want to have, then we're messing up our ability to see what we really need. And that is kind of the thought process behind Aparigraha, the fifth Yama.